Today we are making a leather SD card holder. I have a friend who's been getting into wildlife photography over the past year, so I wanted to make something useful for him to be able to use on his outings. I settled on a simple design I found from Legacy brand leather and bought their template. This video is not a step-by-step on how to make this holder, more of a time lapse of a beginner trying out leatherwork. I will link Legacy brand leather's video down below if you are interested in creating one yourself and would like guidance on how to make it. We are going to start by making the template. I printed the design on a regular A4 sized piece of paper, cut it to dimensions, and then I'm taping up to a thicker piece of cardstock. You can simply use the A4 paper and tape the template directly to the leather. However, I prefer to make a more permanent template so I'm not printing it out a new piece every time I want to make something. Here I am cutting the inside design of the template. I'm still working on freehand cutting and still struggle with cutting in a straight line, but I have found that with practice, I have slowly gotten better. I cut through the straight areas first, and then decided to use a droplet hole punch die that I had to punch out the circular cutouts of the inside. Moving on to the leather, I'm using a veg tan 4 to 5 ounce or about 2 millimeters thick piece of leather. I'm using a scratch awl to sketch in the line to the leather, then cutting the leather to size. I'm sketching two pieces, one for the back and one for the front, with the internal design as well. I found that doing multiple light passes with the awl has given me the best results. Trying to do one hard pass can either skew my lines or simply not come out as I would expect. Same for cutting the leather itself. Take your time measuring and don't rush the cutting part. I've messed up a couple pieces before by simply being impatient. I decided to add some additional color and pop to this piece by incorporating a navy blue piece of chrome tan liner leather. I think you're not supposed to mix veg tan and chrome tan, but this is what I had at the time. I am applying glue to the entire area of my back piece and doing the same for the liner. I've found from previous designs that applying glue only to the edges of the leather is not good enough, as they will bubble and move even when you glue them flat together. I'm setting them aside for a bit until they are tacky to the touch, then pressing the pieces together firmly and using a roller to ensure area-wide contact. I've weighed down the piece of leather and set them to the side. While waiting for my other pieces to dry, I cut out the internal design for my front piece. I did not film this part, but I finished off the inside with a droplet cutting die. With the glue finally sealing together, I cut off the excess of the lining leather to be even with my back piece. I thought about gluing the edges together, but decided instead to use double-sided adhesive tape, since it was only going to be temporary while I added in my stitching lines. With all the pieces lined up, I added a stitching line about 1/8 of an inch from the edges on all sides. I'm using a diamond hole puncher to mark where my stitching will be. From there, I went back to my hand press machine to punch my stitching holes into the leather. For this clip, I'm only showing how I saddle stitch one of the sides of leather. When I finished each side, I cut off the excess thread and melted the ends with the thread zapper to seal the ends and keep them from coming apart. this is what the project looks like after all the stitching is done. I really like the contrast between the brown and the blue leather and stitchings, and although I've sanded and burnished the edges multiple times, because I did not cut the pieces together, the sides are uneven and you can tell that the edges are not smooth. This is the final product that I'm going to give to my friend as the micro SD card holder. So I have two here just to kind of show you guys a little bit of what it would look like. Obviously you can have up to 6 in there. That's nice because you can have somewhere to store your micro SD card. This doesn't fold. I mean, technically I guess it could, but that's not the point. This is kind of just like a little sleeve that you can put into your carrying case or even in your pocket to hold your micro and full SD cards. Couple things that I learned from this is I'm still learning how to really cut straight lines, so it's pretty hard to tell here, but this line slopes a little bit more than this one, so this side is a little bit wider than this one, but just looking at it from the front you can't really tell, especially if you're not looking too closely. I ended up actually painting the edges black just to give it a more complete look. Normally I like the more natural look you can get with burnishing the edges with token oil. However, because this is 3 layers and I wasn't able to cut all the 3 layers together, when I stitched it all together, it wasn't exactly all even with sanding it down a little bit, and you can kind of tell right there, right, that the top 2 layers protrude out a little bit more than the middle layer, and so the black finishing just kind of helps cover it a tiny bit, as well as give it some extra protection. But overall, this was a fun build, an interesting build. I had never done a piece in which I had to cut the inside of the leather. Normally it's just cutting different pieces of the leather and either gluing and stitching them together. So this was a different learning experience, but a good one. I have the template right here if I do want to create more in the future, and I think what I would do differently is simply on the different pieces of leather I would have excess all around the sides so that when I glue everything together I can cut it all in one piece so that it has a smooth finish at the end.